Hey, good morning, guys. Following up with you guys with another just update after the first exam. So a couple things to go over, and I'm going to touch on some the Chapter 5 stuff as well that was from the last exam, just to make sure we kind of cover those things and make sure you guys understand kind of what we're looking at and what we're looking for as far as the discussion questions go and some of those concepts. First and foremost, exam number one is out of the way. I think I still have one or two people that are still trying to do things because they had excused absences or excused issues. Again, one of those things that you want to make sure you're not waiting until the last minute to get some of those things done, whether it be discussion posts or homeworks or exams, because you don't know what kind of crazy weather is going to happen like we've had lately, or something else is going to pop up emergency-wise. So please try and stay ahead and get those things done out of the way as quickly as you can. Um, as far as exam number one goes, the average on that was pretty good. Usually it's around 71, 72. This class is a little bit higher than that, especially with this many people in it. It's a good exam average at 73.5%. So good job on that. Good start. Again, for those of you that maybe didn't do as well as you hoped you'd done, or that were kind of right on that average, take a look at that, at what you did right, what you did wrong, if there were certain styles of questions that you missed, certain types of topics that weren't that you feel like you didn't do as well on or didn't understand as well. Take a look at the questions from that first exam and take a look and see if there's anything that you can do differently or anything that you can study differently based on how the exam is now structured and how you know it's structured. The next exam is going to be the same thing, same process, same format, so there won't be any surprises. So please make sure that you're looking at that stuff, taking a look at what you've done right, what you've done wrong, and learning from it. All right. Chapter 5 stuff. For the discussion posts that we had for Chapter 5, we wanted you to look at some of the informal and the formal cultural systems, different things that they go about within from the more technical side of things, from the overall organization as far as orientations, policies, codes, rules, things that you have to abide by from a technical contractual standpoint. And how much do those things actually mesh with some of the informal sides of things, some of the things you see going on within your own individual branches, individual departments, some of the stories that are told, some of the the language that's used, some of the other examples of the book that this figure 5.1 and 5.2 give, norms, rituals, myths, and stories, those types of things that you see once you get out of the more corporate side of things. That if you're working for a large company and doing orientations where they tell you to buy the book kind of way, how much does that actually translate into the actual job itself and into the actual area where you're working, and then taking a look at those types of things and looking at how they actually mesh with your own personal individual values and individual systems, with how you like to do things, how you want to see things done. And one of the key things with this, one of the key aspects of this discussion topic in this part of the chapter, is looking at how much those mesh and the comfortableness, comfortability, I guess if that's a word, of how people are within those corporations, within those companies. And you'll notice that if the formal systems mesh really well and they match up very well with the informal systems, you find a lot more ethical behavior. You find a lot more people that have really good job satisfaction, really happy with their jobs because they don't have to compromise what some of their values are, what some of their ideals are, as far as doing some of these things, as far as doing their everyday job. Some of the things that motivate people to do some of the things that are more corporate level is based on how do we reward people. You get the behavior that you reward, not necessarily the behavior that you say you want. It's based on those rewards, based on what we do. Well, I'm rambling here a little bit. The values that we have as an organization, the core values that we say, and sometimes those ones that are even written up on the walls and posted. We honor integrity, we honor this, we honor that. Those espoused values that they have written somewhere that they teach people, are they actually the same as the enacted values that actually take place on an everyday basis and as people are going through their daily jobs? How much does that actually, do you see those two kind of meshing well together, and you see someone actually acting on a daily basis with integrity, with honesty, with the dealings that they're doing? And this kind of goes along as we move toward the next couple discussions here, we'll get into this as well. But the idea kind of translates and moves forward with this, and it's that comfortability that when you deal with some of the ethical dilemmas that you guys talked about for the chapter 6 stuff, what are some of the things that you realize that hey, look, this is different than what they taught me. This is something that they didn't tell me this was what this job was actually going to entail. They kind of they gave me this hey, rainbows and butterflies kind of mentality about what the job was going to be, and then I realized I have to make these hard decisions and do some of these things that make me feel a little bit icky or a little bit gross about what I do. Again, that's not all jobs, that's not all careers, but it's something that you see happening more often than not, where there's just that little bit of pulling, a little bit of discomfort that's there, and that's something that comes along with a concept that's associated with this called cognitive dissonance. It is that feeling you get of having to have that uncomfortableness about some of the decisions you have to make, and how you deal with some of those things. And does it eat you up inside, and does it make you feel gross, or is it something where there's not a lot of discomfort, and not a lot of pulling you between certain values and certain ways of doing things. So it's an interesting thing, interesting concept here. Like I said, getting into chapter 6, kind of moving forward and kind of taking this just a little bit step further and looking into some of the things that are actually designed towards some of your jobs and some of the careers that you guys have had, or that friends of yours or siblings have had, or parents have had, and stories that they've told you. Some of the ones that kind of stood out to me, I always get a kick out of the restaurant hospitality people that work as servers, or work as cooks, or work as someplace in a restaurant or customer service aspect. Excuse me. The things about some of those things with regards to, well, we realize that maybe we don't have the greatest quality of food, or we realize that, hey, we're pretty close to the expiration date on this food, but if we cook it today and we sell enough of it, then it's not that big a deal, and we can maybe push it an extra day. And you hear about some of the stories where people bend rules, and people maybe say, oh, it's okay, it's not that bad, or it's still servable. Some of those things that happen, which you'd be surprised how often that does happen. They make TV shows about it on Food Network about Restaurant Impossible, and some of the was Gordon Ramsay that does like I'm gonna go in there and basically insult your restaurant and how you keep your food and how you do things, and show you the right way of doing things. It happens way more often than we think it does. Retail jobs with regards to discounts and discount abuse. How much do some of these people actually put into, or how much do people give that they probably shouldn't, or do they maybe stretch a little bit further for people they know, or for people that they want to build some kind of relationship with, and do they bend the rules? Do they give more? Do they give less for certain people? And how much power is there? So that's an interesting one. Sales. Always an interesting one, kind of goes along with retail, is the idea of, especially if you get commission, how much are you overselling or overemphasizing how great that product is? For cosmetics people, I've seen a couple of them that hey, look, this woman comes in, gets the little makeover thing, and says, oh, this looks wonderful, and in the back of your mind, you're probably a lot of people think, it's okay, it looks all right, it's better than what you had. But it's not like they think they're Giselle now, and it's something that you kind of say, oh yeah, that's phenomenal, that looks wonderful on you, and that's great, just to try and get that sale, and how much does that actually occur, and how much do you overemphasize or exaggerate what's going on, and some of those things. That's not always, when we look at some of these things, the situations where we're looking at the right versus wrong. It's the it's okay if we do this to a certain extent, kind of understanding. That's an interesting one. Another one I really that seemed like got a lot of responses in this class was regards to gaming industries, and I saw a couple different ones where you realize, hey, people are within these institutions and inside of these casinos, they're gambling what they can't afford to lose. So you have the job that you're there. If let's say you're a blackjack dealer and you see someone laying down money and they're just hands in their head, or hair in their hands the whole time, and stressing out over every single $10, $20 hand, and you realize, hey, look, if you can't afford to do this, you probably shouldn't be doing that. But you can't say that to these people. You can't get that personally involved with some of these people. It's not something that they want to come to the casinos and do. It's a lot of what happens with this, and I saw the discussion about this within some of these posts about the addiction that's out there, and can you live with that cognitive dissonance? Are you comfortable enough seeing someone waste their money and money that they probably can't afford to lose um, by being in that job? Or is it something that, look, I can't deal with this anymore, I've got to get out of that job, I've got to get into a different position? But again, very interesting stuff. Chapter 7 is a little bit different than what's been in the past because one of my videos wasn't working. We got into the Challenger situation, and the video for the actual Challenger explosion was in there, but the groupthink video wasn't. Now, groupthink is something that the book gets into, and something that the lectures get into a little bit. It's something that's a pretty common concept. If you've taken any of the fundamentals of management type classes or anything like that, you probably have heard of groupthink, but it's basically that idea that people will go along with the group because they don't want to be that lone outsider, or that there's that fear of not being a part of what's going on, or sometimes it's not necessarily in this Challenger situation, but it's something where people would be okay to go along with something to get something out of the way and get something done. Just to get it out of the way and move on. You see a lot of these things within group activities. If you're doing things on campus or doing things within classes within groups, it's I'm fine with this. Let's just stop talking about this. I'll go along with what you want just to get it over with. And you get that mentality with a lot of things in a lot of different areas. And that's kind of what went into the Challenger situation. I'll have to change that up for next time, but that Challenger situation, I don't know how many of you guys were alive when that happened, but it was something that shocked a lot of people, and something that was really hit home where I was in Florida, where close to Cape Canaveral. The other part of Chapter 7 was the Milgram experiments, and this one, you get a lot of strong reaction to this particular experiment. It's one that a lot of you guys say, well, I'm fortunate, I've never been in this situation, and I'm so glad that this has never happened, or I've never had it to nearly to that extent. And the reason why you're not getting that to that extent anymore is because it's now found to be illegal to be putting people through the emotional strain and the emotional stress associated with some of these experiments. There have been there's one reproduction that was legal that they actually had institutional review boards that actually went through and said, yes, okay, you can do this, but you have to make certain modifications, and found very similar results to what we got with Milgram experiments, where people would just keep going and keep going and keep going. The other one that went into this was the idea that there was actually an illegal experiment someone did as a, I don't know, I don't think it was a joke. I think it was someone that actually was trying to run an experiment and see how far people would go. But it was illegal, and it's something that caused all kinds of issues, and they actually made a movie out of it called Compliance, and I'm not going to show a trailer or anything like that because it's pretty disturbing. But it's something that was made, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. Probably older than that now, but where someone actually called into a restaurant and said, hey, one of the girls or a fast food restaurant, and said, one of the girls that's in your restaurant or part of your employee base is stealing money. That if you check your registers, you'll probably find that $20, $30 per shift is missing. And it's something that they're just kind of skimming off the top. And they faked like they were an authority figure. They faked like they were a police officer and had the manager say, look, you can handle this in-house, or I can come down there and I can file paperwork and I can cause a big scene, and basically made it sound like, look, I'm going to give you a way to get out of this. If you follow what I'm telling you to do, if you follow what I want you to do. So they took the female employee back in the back into the offices, and basically, had the managers do a strip search on her, had her do all kinds of things, and basically degrade herself, while it was on video, while it was, part of, what was going on, while they had the in-house cameras going, and it was really just a horrible situation. Where, again, you look at some of the things that if there is that authority figure that's putting pressure on you to say, look, you need to do this, you have to do this, how far do people go? How far are people willing to go? And at what point do people say, look, I can't do this, and this has gone way too far, and is it already too far at that point? That's the thing that we don't realize, is that once you start doing something, it's so hard to get out of that, taking that next step and back away from something. It's much harder to get out of something than it is to get into something. Some of the examples that we have, when I was in an insurance company doing auto accident claims, one of the hardest things people had to deal with were the injury claims, and it's an industry standard that you go out and you meet with injured people or people that are claiming injury from these accidents, and you try to secure a release as quickly as possible, as fast as you can, basically to keep your reserves down, to keep the money that's being spent, the money that's being preserved for claims down. Because the longer a claim stays open, the longer a feature in those accidents stays open, the more it actually costs the company. It's something that affects profitability, affects all the different aspects of the company based on how long some of these things stay open. So you're taught and you're pressured into saying, look, get a release, get a release, get a release, get them to, if it's for $10,000, $20,000, get this amount of get this paper signed, and it leaves you feeling, again, that little bit of ickiness, a little bit of dirtiness in some of these situations. But again, it's that pressure you get from people from the higher up saying, well, you didn't meet this goal, you didn't meet that goal. I'm sending you out to meet with this injured person today. Go out there, and if you don't secure a release, or if you don't do these steps, call me and I'm going to walk you through it as you're sitting there. And it's a very pressure-packed kind of situation where you're kind of being forced to do some of the things that again, maybe make some people feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Not to the extent of the Milgram experiments or anything like that, but still it's something that you look at and say, I don't really know if that person was going to be all right completely. They needed the money, so they signed the paper, and I cut them a check right there for $7-8 grand, which a lot of people would say, oh, okay, fine, I think my neck will get better. But it's something that you question some of the things about how you handle situations. All right, but that's the discussion questions for this time. The ones that are coming up this next week, due this Sunday, March 1st. Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 both are due this week. Chapter 8 has you watching a pretty cool little video. I actually show this to my fundamentals classes as well, just because it's an interesting 10-minute video about what actually motivates people, and it's not necessarily what you would think. So it's an interesting one. The other one gets into CSR, corporate sustainability, and it gives us some of the concepts about the CSR pyramid that you'll see in your book, and some of the different things that I want you guys to look at about how your company's doing things, why is your company doing things, etc. We'll talk about that with the next video. I probably will have one more video next week and another one the following week, and then we will have the exam will be due after that. So make sure you guys are getting things done. If you have questions, please email me, email Gannon. If there are questions about the exam itself, please email me. Gannon is in charge of the discussions, in charge of the homework as far as grades for those. But if there's a test question, if there's something about retaking the test, or not retaking the test, but rescheduling tests, or questions about what's right, what's wrong on the tests themselves, please direct those to me. Otherwise, have a good day, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys next time.